What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here back for my week 14 picks and predictions. Last week we had a really strong week, going 13-2, hoping to get to 14-2 after that Monday night game tonight. But we are 129-65 on the season. That brings us to a 66.5% win rate on the season. I like to compare that with the absolute best pickers in the world on the site that I'm using, ESPN Pick'em. There's a 9-way tie for first place at 148-46 on the season. So we're currently 19 games behind that. We're doing what we can this week to chip away at that lead, but those guys are obviously very, very good. Teams on bye this week. We have the Ravens, the Broncos, the Texans, Colts, Patriots, and Commanders. This is the last bye week of the season. So this week we only have 13 matchups to work with, but 6 of those are going to be divisional matchups. So that really makes for a challenging week this week. But without further ado, let's get right on into the picks. So let's go to my first pick of the week, which is the first game of the week, the Packers at the Lions. This is going to be a tough game to pick. Thursday night divisional game. I think a lot of people are going to be picking the Lions here, and so am I. But I think that there are some concerns for the Lions. I think their defensive line is really banged up, so they've definitely got some injury concerns. I didn't love the way that they let the Bears come back into that game on Thanksgiving because, the Lions were obviously the better team. But I'm still going to go with them because I think they have more firepower than the Packers. They can pass it, they can run it, they can get scoring in a hurry. I think that's probably going to be the key to this game. If the Lions can get scoring in a hurry, if they can score quickly, I think that kind of eliminates Josh Jacobs' effectiveness on the Green Bay Packers, and it's going to force Jordan Love to throw this ball to win them the game. And I just don't expect that. I like the Lions here. This is their second game in a row at home, so give me the Lions to win that one. The next game I wanted to talk about here is the Falcons at the Vikings. This to me feels like the Falcons are falling off. Obviously, Kirk Cousins kind of returning to his mid to late season form. He had 4 interceptions versus the Chargers last week, and that was a game coming off of a bye, which is not a good look whatsoever. The Falcons have now lost 3 games in a row. They had a clear lead of the NFC South. They swept the Buccaneers, but now their season is a little bit in question. The good news for the Falcons, though, is that after this Vikings game, their schedule gets a lot easier. They have the Raiders, the Giants, the Commanders, the Panthers. So I think that there's some wins there. But the Vikings, I think that they're going to win this game. They've won 5 games in a row now. The only 2 teams that they've lost to are the Lions and the Rams, so 2 very good teams. I love the way that Sam Darnold is playing. I think that you have to give a lot of credit to this system with Kevin O'Connell and Josh McCown. I think they're doing a great job with him, and I'm just not going to overcomplicate this. I think Darnold is the better quarterback. He's playing better football right now. He hasn't thrown an interception in the last 3 games, and he also has better weapons than the supporting cast, in my opinion. And I would even argue he might even have the better running game at this point in the season. I know Bijan is a fantastic running back, but I like Akers and Aaron Jones just as much in the running game department there. And the Vikings, they can also generate pressure on the quarterback, and the Falcons, they've struggled to do that all season. So give me the Vikings in that one, especially at home. That's a great home field advantage in Minnesota. Now let's get to the third game that I wanted to talk about here, the Browns at the Steelers. Another really interesting matchup. These two teams obviously just played 2 weeks ago. It was one of the games of the year, that snowy game in Cleveland. The Browns upset the Steelers 24-19 in Cleveland. If the Browns can get a win here, then it'll be the first time since 1988 that they've swept the Steelers. I just thought that was an interesting stat. But to me, the Steelers, they just feel like they're rolling. They've kind of hit a stride. Russell Wilson is 5-1 starting for this team. The only loss coming to the Browns. This team kind of feels like an old Seattle Seahawks team with Russell Wilson. They have good coaching, good defense, good running game. They've got weapons. It's a physical team. It just kind of feels like one of those old Seattle teams. Also, the Steelers in this matchup, they're going to have a day's rest on the Browns. I think that this is also a tough spot for the Browns. They played the Steelers 2 weeks ago. Then they went to Denver to play the Broncos. And then now they're off on the road again to go in Pittsburgh and play the Steelers to face them a second time. So I think that that's a really brutal stretch. I think that the Browns have been decent. Jameis Winston has given them some nice production. But give me the Steelers to win this game, especially at home. I expect these 2 teams to split this season. Now let's get into the next really good matchup of the week that I want to get into it with you guys, the Seahawks at the Cardinals. This one is a really interesting one. There's a lot to unpack here. The Seahawks obviously won the first matchup of the season between these two teams in Seattle. I think that Seattle was able to win that game because they stopped the Cardinals' running attack. They kind of forced Kyler Murray to throw the ball on them and beat them throwing it, which he was unable to do. I think if the Cardinals do end up winning this game, Kyler's going to have to be special. He's going to have at least a couple of passing touchdowns, maybe a rushing touchdown, because it is that kind of game. This game is for the season. The Seahawks are at the top of the division. This game means everything for both of these two teams, because if the Cardinals could get a win here, that really just flips the narrative. It would be a huge win. But the past 2 weeks in a row now, the Cardinals defense has kind of kept them in games, and Kyler Murray in the offense has kind of failed them. I also think that the play calling has been conservative for the Cardinals, especially last week versus the Vikings. The Seahawks, they have a decent defense too, so I think that this is going to be a tough game for the Cardinals. The Seahawks, they can get pressure on the quarterback. They're 11th in the league in sacks. I did think the Seahawks played kind of badly versus the Jets last week. They still won. Their defense carried them. I think that the strength for both of these teams the past few weeks has been their defense, not the offense. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what kind of teams we're going to be seeing on the field come Sunday. So now let's get into the next game here. We have the Bills at the Rams. By the way, I like the Cardinals in that one if I didn't mention that. But in the Bills and Rams, I'm going to go with the Bills here. To me, the Bills are kind of quietly one of the best teams in the league. I feel like there's a lot of talk about the Eagles, the Lions, other teams. But the Bills are so good, and I just don't feel like there's enough being talked about them, not enough being said about them. Josh Allen has been playing some of the best football of his career. The running game has been great for the Bills as well, which is a great element to this team. But so has the Bills' defense. Their defense has been good. They've had a number of interceptions this season, 13, almost as many fumble recoveries on the season. They've got a solid pass rush as well, and this is going to be a team that's really tough to play, especially at home. I know they're not at home in this game, but come playoff time in the cold in Buffalo, this is going to be a tough team to play against. I still think the Rams are a well-coached team. It's at home in Los Angeles, which I think plays a part. Granted, I don't think they have a fantastic fan base in LA. You see, their home games get taken over a lot of the times by other teams' fans. But the Bills to me can do it all. I think the Rams are a little bit one-dimensional. I know they have a solid running game with Kyren Williams, but sometimes it feels like they can be a little bit reliant on guys like Puka. And I think that if you can kind of take Puka out of the game, I think that that's huge for the Bills, and I expect them to do that. So give me the Bills in that one. Then the last game that I want to go over here with you guys is the Chargers at the Chiefs. I'm a big Chargers fan, but I'm trying to stay as unbiased as I can here. But I do have the Chiefs winning this game. I do think the Chiefs are one of the luckiest teams in recent memory. They only have one loss, but I think they should have at least one more, maybe two losses on their record. I know this Chiefs team, they beat the Chargers earlier in the season, but I think the Chargers kind of have more of a chance now in this game with Harbaugh having had more time to establish this team, this system, this identity. I think that that's a big advantage for the Chargers. As we've seen, the Chiefs have obviously been playing bad teams close all season. So I think that they play close games. I think this is going to be no different. Something that is not talked about much is the Chiefs defense. I think has been great all season long. I think it's a really well-coached unit. I think that the Chargers and Chiefs kind of match up well. I think they both have good defenses, obviously good quarterbacks, good coaching. So it feels like a really interesting game. But to me, where the Chiefs kind of separate themselves is the playmaking ability. The Chargers right now don't have a great receiving core. The only guy Herbert really trusts right now, I think, is Lad McConkey. And then Dobbins is going to be out for this game, the running back for the Chargers, which is a big blow. And you just got so many playmakers on the Chiefs. I know they haven't been great on offense, but I believe they're going to get Pacheco in this game. They have Hunt, Kelsey, Noah Gray's been playing great all season. They got Hopkins now, Xavier Worthy. I think this is something that the Chargers are going to have a little bit of a tough time dealing with, but granted, I know their defense has been playing lights out all season. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs in that one. I have the rest of my picks down in the description box below. So definitely go check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back next week for my next week's picks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.